Hey guys, Nicholai I'm back at you with another video. We're going to be doing a reaction to Pope Respecter, who is one of the worst ankle biters in the Twitter sphere when it comes to religion. He's also a massive coper, coper respecter, I guess you would call him. That's terrible. That was a terrible. Don't even, guys, just shame me on that one. All right, that was a terrible pun. Anyways. He goes around and he really has a lot to say about orthodoxy while not knowing almost anything about it. And he likes to pretend that that people are dumber than they really are with his arguments. He has me blocked. He's had me blocked for a long time because I keep on calling him out for this nonsense. So let's address some of his arguments. All I had to do is go to his Twitter page and type in Orthodox, and we're going to just go through and see a couple of these things. Orthodox have the same. The difference is what a Catholic priest does. The difference is when a Catholic priest does it, there are an army of Catholics to amplify these videos. The Orthodox do not do it. The Orthodox never share the videos. That's just not true. First off, Father Mike, who this was a video about him dancing in liturgical garbs, and then posting it on TikTok. There's a big distinction between dancing in liturgical garbs and dancing after a liturgy with the people in Africa in non-liturgical garbs. It's not during a service, it's not during any of that stuff, it's just a bunch of people having a good time. Okay? And that is the distinction here, right? Now, frankly, I'll be honest. As an Orthodox person, I think genuinely, or generally, you should probably avoid having these kind of events or parties or music being played in the sanctuary. I just think it's just not appropriate generally. That being said, not every church has that luxury, especially in Africa. So I'm willing to be neutral on this issue. And then he posts this video as if this is some own as well. Wow, he's moving back and forth, showing off with different types of liturgical garb with a friend of his who has a TikTok. Oh, that's the same as dancing in a funky way like we see numerous priests do. Give me a break. It's not even remotely the same. We know it's not the same. Anybody pretending it's the same is coping to the max. So let's continue on. We're gonna mute that. Let's continue on. Anyone who's saying the Pope has anything but was anything but solid on LGBT in the Crux interview is just wrong. He was careful and gentle, but he was also very clear on doctrine would not change and gay ritual blessings were not allowed. Meanwhile, okay, so again, massive cope. He says gay ritual blessings are not allowed, and yet he does nothing to stop the German bishops or the numerous clergy that are giving gay blessings. Nothing. None of them have been defrocked. None of them have been punished. None of them have been held accountable. So this is massive cope. He's walking a tightrope because he doesn't want to outcast the trads, but he also wants to keep the liberals in line as well, which is cowardly. He's being a coward. And Pope Respecter here is just ignoring all of that. Okay. Here's another lie, blatant lie. 1925, Catholic, Orthodox, and Protestants all agree that woman ordination was wrong and that birth control was wrong. 100 years later, only Catholics maintain these positions. Meanwhile, your Vatican has invited the new Archbishop of Canterbury into several joint events. So don't give me that BS. You guys actually view them as having valid sacraments, just like you view Orthodox as having valid sacraments. Second, this is not a priest. You know better, Pope Respecter. You know better. You filthy, dirty liar from the pit of hell, frankly. She was a what you call a deaconess, and deaconess are from the early church. They existed. The issue and the outrage was not from the fact that she was made a deaconess. The issue was she was giving the Eucharist, which, by the way, the co-prospector, guess what? You guys have lay ministers, lay Eucharistic ministers, and many of them are women. So don't pretend that this is something that's out of the ordinary. This is one parish from one bishop in the middle of Africa that did something wrong, and guess what? He was smacked down, they investigated it, and they corrected the issue. Meanwhile, you have not corrected any of those lay ministers, those Eucharistic ministers, quote unquote. Give me a break. Such a deceitful little liar, because I know he's been corrected on this. And he's engaged with people who have said, hey, bro, this is not right. That's not what's happening here. This is not a priest. This is a deaconess who is got very limited, very specific liturgical role. No liturgical roles as far as I'm aware. This was an abnormality, and it was corrected. So he's a liar. And liars like this will never stand to be corrected, which is why they block people liberally. Let's continue to look what he has to say. In January 2018, former priest Gleb Gorgolaski was sentenced to 14 years in prison after violently sexually abusive boys in Orthodox youth camps in Russia and Greece. Yeah, he was punished. Unlike moving your priest to new diocese and just ignoring the problem, co-prospector. Orthodoxy is not perfect. We have sinful people in our church, sinful priests. Typically, it gets handled rapidly. And if it isn't, it's investigated, and then it's handled even at a higher level. Please stop with this just nonsense. In 5 years, Orthodox will be like, there were always trans people in the church. Haven't you read Saint Shwagla of the Desert? Mocking the saints, by the way. Mocking the Eastern saints specifically. Where this is all explained, you dumb Latin. No one's going to do that. We haven't changed our doctrine at all. You guys are the ones that have Vatican II. You guys are the ones that have innovated on the death penalty. You guys are the ones that innovated on marriage and divorce and contraception and all these other areas. We have not. We've maintained the standard practice from the early church. Period. It is you guys that have continued this. This is like the gaslighting is absolutely amazing. We have not adopted trans people, gay people, or anything in our churches. Deaconess was a common thing, and we all know that. Even your Latin Church and Vatican acknowledge deaconesses. It's not even controversial, yet he makes it controversial because he was trying to deflect from addressing these serious issues. And part of the reason is, and this is well established from various sources, is that apparently his son was one of the people that was converting to Orthodoxy, and he wasn't happy about it. And then he claimed it didn't really happen, that his son actually stopped, wasn't going to actually convert, and that it was just a phase or something like that. But there's no evidence of that. It's just him making the claim. He claimed it was doxing to suggest that his son was becoming Orthodox. How is that doxing, you retard? These people are just not good faith. They're just dishonest. Everyone agreed birth control was grave sin until 1930s. That's not true. Birth control is the specific type of birth control matters. 1, 2, you guys have birth control. It's called family planning. Natural family planning is birth control. Period. End of story. Birth control from the Orthodox context is only allowed, and it's very rare circumstances, only allowed if there's a health reason to prevent pregnancy, yet they still struggle with lust and lustful feelings, so they need sex in their lives. But even then, it's supposed to be done under the gravest of most serious of conditions, and it's never approved. I've never seen it approved. Ever. I've never heard of it being approved. And even if it was, it would be a very quiet thing that's done in the very, it's done under hushed tones with a priest advising them, a spiritual father advising them. Meanwhile, Catholics, they've completely just found numerous loopholes for family natural planning, which is absolutely birth control. It's preventing birth. It's having sex with the express purpose of avoiding pregnancy. No one's saying you can't plan around somebody's natural cycles and things like that. But when you've created an entire system with the express purpose of preventing birth, that's a problem. When you're going at it with a huge amount of intentionality. If you're doing it with the intent of trying to space your kids out so you're not harming your wife and things like that, different story. But that's not what the Catholics are doing. Natural family planning is used overtly to do that. Now, let's not even ignore that most Catholics are using condoms and other birth controls, and they're not punished. They're not meaningfully. If you have a rule and you don't meaningfully enforce the rule, there's no point in having the rule. So again, co-prospector is just out here pretending that's not the case. Fully ordained deaconess approved by a patriarch. He notice this. This is October 4th, and he's repeated this lie within a day. He knows that it's been corrected on this. Fordham, Orthodox clergy and lay people urge inclusion of LGBTQ Christians. This is not true. It hasn't happened. Fordham is not an Orthodox institution. There are a few clergy that you could argue are there, but who cares what lay people think from Fordham? They're just a subversive group, and they have no meaningful influence in the Orthodox Church. Name me a bishop and a synod that are discussing this issue in a meaningful way. You can't, and that's because you ignore the fact that that is not the way our church operates. He pretends to, he acts as if this is some massive own, as if not understanding orthodoxy is like the point. Let's continue. Orthodoxy is the fastest shrinking demographic. This is just not true. This has been debunked numerous times. That's not even getting into the horrendous data on this. So if you look up the 2010 data, the amount of Orthodox that were polled, the amount of Orthodox who were polled was laughably bad. Laughably bad. Pew Research has been bad for years, and he's reposting this from 2014, even though it's been debunked. Look at, he's posting again. Orthodox female deacon, which has been addressed already. He's obsessed, absolutely obsessed. Absolutely obsessed with this. And meanwhile, he goes around and says that Orthodox aren't even worth responding to. He said that multiple times. They're so irrelevant. Then why is your timeline October 8th, September 28th, October 8th, October 4th, constant, like never ending? A pedophile subdeacon who raped a former hockey team on trial. Okay, first off, a subdeacon is like one of the lowest ranks of ordained clergy. And it was addressed and he was arrested. Okay, let's continue. September 20th, October 5th. He's just lying. 6th, 4th, 23rd, 16th, 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 22nd, 16th, 8th, 5th. He's obsessed. He never stops. He quite literally cannot help himself. And this is what happens when someone has someone close to them convert to Orthodoxy and they have Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is what's causing this behavior. 100% causing this behavior. So we're not going to go much further. This is just to show that people like this are dishonest. They don't actually address the arguments. They don't engage in good faith. And so it's just laughable that we even pretend that they have good arguments. The Catholics stopped trying to argue meaningfully with us a long time ago. So God bless, guys. Have a wonderful day. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think down below.